Story 1. They have become very offended and either turned into hardcore stalkers or have never spoken to me again. Basically, all the things women claim men do turn out not to be a gender issue but a human behavior issue. Story 2. A few of them got angry and told me to go away. Most of them pretended to be my friends for a while and then gradually stopped hanging out with me. Story 3. I have had to place 2 women into the friend zone, both of whom were women to whom I had confessed feelings in the past. The first was a woman from college who confessed to having feelings for me approximately 6 years after rejecting me. The second was a best friend who declined when I confessed and then confessed to having feelings for me 2 separate times, both only after I had entered relationships with another person. Needless to say, I do not speak to either now, which is unfortunate because I truly cared for both of them. However, how does a person feel any other way than, "Oh, so I am just a backup for you to avoid loneliness"? In those situations? Story 4. A few times. Some women accept the sting of disappointment, which everyone experiences a few times in life. They give themselves space, then move on and respectful friendship resumes. Other women have catastrophic ego implosions and strike out by inflicting social damage or maintain seething resentment in the friendship for years. You have to monitor the attention women are giving you and may need to quickly distance yourself socially. When you observe that someone is not recognizing how much they have become a pawn of their own infatuation, it becomes your responsibility to cut off platonic attention that has devolved into supply and anticipation for them. People are not all raised with an equal grasp of their own vulnerability. Compassion sometimes requires pushing them away sooner rather than later. You should not have to manage anyone else's reckless emotions, but in life you will. Story 5. Honestly, it killed the relationships. A few times were friends with benefits pitches that had complications which I rejected. But the one that sticks out is after one suggested I fool around with her despite my fiancé. I told her all the things I would rather do than cheat on my now wife. Story 6. She did not take it well. Some backstory. I had a crush on her, told her, and got rejected with the whole "I am not looking for anything right now" line, followed by her having a boyfriend a week later. Then I acted foolishly for a little while, moved on, and met someone else. After we both had children with other people, I dropped off some diapers to her. She asked if I ever thought about what if. I said yes, but that it was a door I closed a long time ago and will never open again after seeing how casually she lied to me about why she said no, ended up in a toxic relationship, and overall did not treat me well in the last few years. Story 7. Every woman I friend-zoned quickly became an acquaintance and then faded into obscurity by their own doing. Really. That is, if they were not offended. Story 8. I did not say the word friend-zone, but she was a friend of mine for a few years. Most of those years, I was in a relationship with someone else. When that relationship ended, she confessed her feelings to me. I said I did not feel that way about her but asked that we remain friends. She took some time to think about it, but then came back and told me she did not know how to just be friends with me anymore now that she had these feelings, so we stopped being friends. Story 9. The girl and I were friends while I dated her friend. That relationship ended, but the girl stayed in our group while we all finished college. She started getting possessive of me and tried keeping other girls away from me. I confronted her and told her I wasn't interested in being more than friends and that I needed her to stop interfering with my dating life. She agreed and was cool for a few months, but she started telling other people that we were dating. I had to break off the friendship, but then she started stalking me. She would wait for me outside my classes, look for me at my work, and I caught her slowly driving past my house a few times. I graduated, changed jobs, and moved half an hour away, but she found me again. She eventually gave up, but she was a pain in my life for nearly 3 years. Story 10. It gets really cringy when they want more, and then they usually go too far. Awkward messages, outrageous gifts, dropping by in the middle of the night drunk. Story 11. I have done this a few times in my younger days, and they were usually offended, as if I should feel privileged to date them. I had some good friends back then who completely stopped talking to me because I did not want to be more than friends. Story 12. We stayed friends for a few years after. Then we tried dating just to see what would happen. That only lasted about a week because she suddenly became a boring version of herself. and I found myself somewhat uncomfortable every time we kissed. Story 13. I went on a date with a woman with whom I felt no romantic connection. I was direct with her, and she took it maturely. She ended up showing me how to paddleboard, and we are still friends. Story 14. Generally, once they found they could not attract sexual interest or if I would not flirt back, they vanished into the wilderness, never to be heard from again. Story 15. Did not place them in the friend zone. I just made it clear early on that I am not romantically attached to them and will not be. This weeds out those who want to leave at that point. Story 16. I do not know that I placed them in the friend zone, but I was not interested in dating, so our relationship diminished. I think it was at least partially because I wanted to give them space, but also I think that once the prospect of a romantic relationship faded, the motivation for effort in the platonic relationship disappeared as well. Story 17. We're best friends, the best of kind. We meet once every 5 years, and it feels like no time has passed at all. It's the ultimate low-maintenance friendship. I attended her wedding and she attended mine. Her child is 3 years old now. Mine is 1 year old. Story 18. I tried to be friends with a woman who wanted me but, while cool, was not romantically or sexually interested in me. She went nuts. That won't be every woman, but it was enough to know I won't try that again, nor will I try to be friends with a woman I'm interested in. I played it cool, but it was still painful, and more often than not, they took advantage of my feelings. They asked me for favors beyond our relationship, knowing I'd do them because I had feelings, or used me for comfort and attention while in between boyfriends, only to back off when they started seeing someone else. Moving forward, I will only engage in relationships on a mutual level. If one of us wants something different, we'll have nothing. I get called selfish all the time for it. However, I think the opposite is far more selfish. Being denied love when you crave it hurts a lot more than friendship. But because one party wants friendship, the other has to hurt the whole time just to maintain that friendship? How about we both hurt for a bit until we get over it? On top of that, we avoid all the awkwardness and complications that come with the situation, the temptation to take advantage of someone's affections to get more than a friend should, or the temptation to sabotage a newly forming relationship out of jealousy. It's just better for everyone involved. Story 19. I climbed out the FZ like Bane. We met a handful of times and she fell in love. I then had to gently lay her into her own friend zone. She did not like that, but she respected it. One day I texted to meet and she told me she could not because she found a guy. They are married and happy now, and we are still good friends. Win-win situation. Story 20. Men generally do not put women in the friend zone. They put women in the intimate zone and do not say a word. Both men and women use these zones to gain relationship benefits without commitments. If a man puts a woman in the friend zone, then he does not find her attractive enough to place in the intimate zone. Sorry to be harsh, but that is my opinion. Story 21. When I was dating, I would look for signs that a girl I was clearly showing romantic interest in was friend zoning me, and then I would friend zone them in return. Often, I would hang out at my convenience and communicate on my time, not really seeing them as anyone to pursue because my thought was that if she really wanted me, she would have tried to be with me. So I dated around, hooked up with people, and kept my dating life separate from my friend group because none of it was really worth being serious about. I was even in a live-in friends with benefits situation when I moved away for college, which only a few people at my university knew about, while still talking to friends online and occasionally hanging out with them on breaks when I attended events and holiday parties. When I met my future wife and things got serious, I proposed. She accepted, and I publicly announced it to everyone who knew me by emailing a video of our engagement and posting it on social media. The impact was almost immediate. After a few days, there was a constant stream of women I had friend-zoned contacting me. The messages were almost all the same, being critical of either my relationship or my partner without knowing anything about her or us. Some even made clearly racist remarks, but for the most part, they did not. However, all except two tried to sway my judgment to seduce me into being with them instead. I confronted them about their lack of interest and explained that we were only ever going to be friends or friendly acquaintances because that's how I saw them when it was clear they had no interest in dating. Several left the matter alone, but most escalated until I had to make it clear I had no interest in any woman who would put me on the back burner. If they couldn't accept that, then they were never my friends to begin with. One girl even showed up at my apartment with her mom and a cake to try to convince me to be with her. It ended with her mom scolding her and dragging her away once I revealed we never dated because she was sleeping with at least 3 guys I knew several years ago. I ended up dropping multiple girls I thought were friends because of the situation and lost several guy friends who were clearly white knighting while pining after some of them. But in the end, I found out who my real friends were and that I was better off without the toxicity they would have brought to my life. Story 22. On a drunken night, I realized it was better not to muddy things, so I told her I had work in the morning, gave her a pat on the butt and sent her on her way. We are not friends anymore, and I don't think we were ever friends. I realized the key to staying friends with a woman is to not have sex with her or even begin to have sex with her, or take it to the dating phase. Treat her like you would your best mate, but don't slap her butt and say good game. Story 23. I have many female friends. It works well for me as long as both of us remain in the friend zone. Story 24. I am still good friends with one of my ex-partners. We dated for over 2 years many years ago. I do not hang out with her as much as I do with some other friends, but she will always be someone special to me. There are absolutely no more romantic feelings, but I feel close to her like I would a sister, more than other female friends I have. Took some effort to get there, and it was definitely difficult at first. Having many mutual friends created a necessity to try to be friendly initially, which helped us reach the relationship we have today. Overall, I could not be happier about our relationship now. Story 25. Ghosted, like no contact, it was 20 years ago. Dissolved, no contact for 15 years. Turned out to be a lesbian with the 4th one. We bumped into each other in our neighborhood, but nothing more. Story 26. The friend zone is a place where you put yourself. No one can make you stay in hopes of more, that is you deciding to do it. Story 27. There is no such thing as a friend zone. I have had female friends to whom I was attracted and would have been willing to date, friends to whom I was attracted but would not have been willing to date, and friends to whom I was not attracted. Each of those friends presumably felt one way or another about me. I am perfectly capable of being friends with all of them, and I have been, in some cases, for decades. Story 28. I don't really bother with friend zones. I have friends. Some are male, some are female. Some are close, some are casual. Some I would like to sleep with, some I wouldn't. Some I'd be happy to date, others not so much. One is my partner. Except for that last one, I'm open to my relationships with people evolving in whatever fashion suits all parties involved. Titles like friend, acquaintance, girlfriend, boyfriend, friends with benefits, and so on are useful for keeping my social circle organized in my head. Otherwise, I have little use for labels, and putting someone in the friend zone feels like hindering opportunities for the relationship to evolve. Story 29. Typically fine. I found that the ones I had sexual relations with were more annoyed than those I did not, but I was always upfront that I was not looking for anything serious and let them make the choice. Story 30. She was so deep in the friend zone. When she asked me to be her boyfriend, I thought she was joking and declined, which was not nice to someone who just had the courage to ask someone out. We stopped seeing each other from that point, and it took me a year to realize what had happened. Story 31. Still friends with one person, going on 8 years as friends now. There were a few others, but I lost contact with all of them. Story 32. In my experience, it is never worth the friendship. It is just easier to part ways. Even if you manage to maintain a normal friendship, which is unlikely, any future partner you have will likely not enjoy the fact that your close female friend has expressed the desire to sleep with you. I also have no desire to be friends with a girl who friend-zoned me, mostly for the same reasons. Story 33. The friendship did not last. It has happened to me a few times when I have friend-zoned someone. Either they get upset for being turned down, which I assume is due to embarrassment, or they take my refusal as a personal challenge to try harder. Story 34. She became increasingly upset with me, so I ended the friendship. I thought it would be fine since she got a boyfriend, but it was not. Story 35. We are not friends. She could not stand being rejected by me so many times. She showed up at my wedding acting like she was my best friend. Please leave. Story 36. I recently had a situation with a man. He is about 20 years older than me and has never been married or had any children. He has had a couple of long-term relationships, but they ended because the women wanted to get married and he did not. Anyway, he and I had chemistry and mutual attraction. Every touch was electric. Every kiss was passionate. We held hands and called each other baby. He held me tight and told me how beautiful and sexy I am. He even became aroused around me a couple of times but managed to stop himself from having sex. When it came to sex, he would not do it because he said he was afraid that if we had sex, I would fall in love with him and then end up resenting him when he could not commit later. He said he would rather us remain friends forever than lose me because I resented him for that. Yet he reached for my hand, squeezed it, held me tight, kissed me passionately, and continued to talk about how much more beautiful I am than his ex. The chemistry is definitely there, but he is also emotionally avoidant. Needless to say, it is a bit confusing. Story 37. The only time you could use that term in my life, her reaction was to have sex with at least 2 of my friends, including once when I was in the next room and my brother. She also tried to touch me inappropriately while she was making out with another guy at a party out in the middle of nowhere. They were in the back seat of my car. Granted, it was high school, but it was bizarre. Story 38. Oh, you mean women for whom men have no romantic feelings? Men like myself have experienced this a few times because the women did not share interests, political views, values, were not our physical type, or a combination of these factors. I have noticed that friendships between men and women are often one-sided. Women will only be genuine friends if they can gain something, physical, emotional, mental, or sexual, whereas the opposite rarely happens. When a man has a problem and needs help from his female friends, they often avoid him. This is why many men are unwilling to be just friends with women. Story 39. The roles are almost reversed, at least it seems to me. I friend zone everyone and let the strongest decide who can climb out of it. May the odds be ever in your favor. Story 40. Usually it's okay. Only a few times they admitted it, and only once did she become unpleasant after I rejected her. Story 41. I had feelings for a girl a while back when I first met her, but the more I got to know her, the more I realized our values were different. There was nothing wrong with her values, just that they were not compatible with mine. We stayed friends. I never asked her out because I prefer to understand who a person is before making any solid decisions about a romantic relationship. I don't do casual hookups, which I think she hinted at, but I'm not sure. A few months into our friendship, she expressed a desire to date me. I declined as kindly as I could without going into the full reasons, because I didn't want to come off as judgmental. She was apparently upset because many of our mutual friends thought we would make a good couple, and since I don't date or hook up often, unlike some mutual friends who engage in friends with benefits arrangements, my rejection was unexpected. The friend group pressured me repeatedly to explain why I wouldn't date her. I told them I don't date friends. After that, the girls in the group turned on me because they felt I had hurt her feelings and treated her unfairly by saying no. It was strange because they seemed to believe a guy is not allowed to say no. Eventually, the friend group broke up, and only a few of us still hang out together. Recently, we all became friends again, but she still looks at me with a somewhat disappointed expression. So far, it hasn't caused any drama. Over time, we went from being friends who knew nothing about each other to close friends, and now to friends of friends. Story 42. I have seen friends do this to themselves. I always tell them to disengage from that person for a while, so they can work on getting over their feelings before spending more time with them. Story 43. In my experience, it never works out. They tend to always look for a way to get out of the friend zone and take any chance they get. Every single time, I have had to cut them off after I entered a relationship. In my opinion, it is not worth the hassle, and it is better to accept your loss and move on. Story 44. People are either friends or they are not. Saying friend zone is inappropriate because it implies that you only value the opposite sex for relationships, not as human beings deserving of care and respect. Story 45. Men do not put women in the friend zone. The equivalent for women is the casual sex zone, meaning they only keep a man around for sex but will never commit to him or take him seriously beyond bedroom fun. Story 46. If you are married or in a relationship, there is no such thing as friendships with other women. You can be friendly with other women, but you should not hang out with them alone or communicate with them consistently. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.